Good morning, Robin. This case shows how fake news can lead to a dangerous situation.
A false conspiracy theory dubbed Pizzagate.
Fake news.
A baseless online rumor that Democrats like Hillary Clinton were using the pizza shop to abuse children.
And Comet Ping Pong doesn't even have a basement.
Baseless allegations of crimes involving Podesta and Hillary Clinton, lies becoming dangerous.
These lies and falsities about innocent people and then spreading this image over the internet.
A bogus news story. And now this has become the center of a national debate over fake news.
The explosion of fake news on the internet.
Fake news.
This insane conspiracy idea filled with just lies.
An utterly bogus story about child abuse promoted on the internet.
Fantastic tales that some believe to be true.
Fake news. The whole thing turned truly frightening when a man showed up at that pizza parlor with a gun 2 weeks ago demanding to know more. Fake news.
Kannapolis police say their officers shot and killed EDGAR Maddison Welch earlier this month, the man who staged what was later known as Pizzagate. The man who staged what was later known as Pizzagate.
These stories are completely and entirely false. There is no basis or fact in any of them, and what happened today demonstrates promoting false and reckless conspiracy theories comes with consequences.
Fake news.
I'm standing outside Comet Ping Pong, a DC pizza joint that went viral in 2016, not for its crust, but because a forum user with 17 usernames claimed it was the headquarters of a global satanic cabal led by Hillary Clinton. That theory, known as Pizzagate, claimed children were being trafficked through a secret basement that does not exist.
Fake news.
That didn't stop one man from showing up with an AR-15 demanding the truth. He found a kitchen and a really confused manager. But the conspiracy didn't stop there. It evolved, like all viruses do, into QAnon, a sprawling digital delusion that claims Democrats, celebrities, and Tom Hanks are part of a global ring harvesting adrenochrome from children.
Just to be very clear, Pizzagate has never been debunked, despite what numerous copy-pasted headlines would like you to believe. It has also never been proven or even litigated. It remains, for the time being, an allegation.
Media is telling you the entire story is a hoax or fake news.
Fake news.
But what does that even mean? I've got to warn you, what we're going to talk about tonight will be disturbing to some people, but this is a reality check you won't see anywhere else.
SUP Sobers. It's pretty wild how a fully debunked, 100% baseless, absolutely outlandish tinfoil hat conspiracy theory like Pizzagate is suddenly making a huge resurgence. Obviously, the release of the Epstein files is the main reason for all of this pizza talk, and people are continuing to find more and more strange, out-of-place food references buried in these emails and different documents. I mean, there's literally an email right here that just says pizza.
That's it.
It's made a huge resurgence of this whole Pizzagate phenomenon, and it's divided people into two different camps. We've got people who are like, we told you so, we've been saying this for years. And then we've got a whole other group of people that are like, wait, I thought that was debunked. Like, that's real? If you're finding yourself in that latter group over there and you're realizing that you were wrong and this is still going on, don't feel bad. Unfortunately, there was a very effective psychological operation that was run on the entire US population, really the world. And this little operation was amazingly effective because even the word Pizzagate was off the table. You were censored extraordinarily hard for mentioning anything about it, talking about it. They wanted to make sure that you weren't pushing these dangerous and unfounded conspiracy theories.
Somehow that posting morphed into a baseless allegations of crimes involving Podesta and Hillary Clinton, lies becoming dangerous.
It was a matter of public safety. Isn't that how they always try and push what they want us to believe? It's public safety. 2 weeks ago, as we started to dive into the Epstein files, I had mentioned that I truly believe we are in the midst of a psyop. And as I started diving into EDGAR Maddison Welch's story, I realized that we are definitely in the midst of a psyop. If you have never heard of Zawgate and you're like, what are you talking about? Well, it all started back in October of 2016 when the whistleblower organization WikiLeaks, started by Julian Assange, they released a bunch of emails of John Podesta and Tony Podesta. And John Podesta is the former chief of staff for Bill Clinton. He was the head counselor for Barack Obama. And he was also the campaign manager for Hillary Clinton. And him and his brother Tony Podesta, they own one of the biggest Washington, D.C. lobbying firms called the Podesta Group. These guys are both huge creeps. They've got a bunch of weird artwork on their walls, and there's also some really weird, really questionable, definitely going to get flagged kinds of videos that they are allegedly in.
You think you're hot, don't you? What's my name? My other name. What do you call me? You think you're hot, don't you? You will call me. You will call me.
Just get lost. Just get lost. Just get lost.
You think you're hot, don't you? You think you're hot, don't you?
Just get lost.
You think you're hot, don't you?
Just get lost.
Also, John Podesta could be the son of Lawrence Rockefeller, as well as the father of Chester Bennington. Allegedly, he could be. John and Tony are also very likely the two men who got away with abducting and passing away Madeleine McCann. I mean, look at this sketch. Just like we're experiencing now with the Epstein files, it was only a matter of time before people started unearthing some really strange things within these emails. And one of the biggest ones that they noticed was a consistent and strange, nonsensical reference to pizza. With online sleuths hot on this pizza trail, it was only a matter of time before they bumped into the name James Alefantis. This guy was hosting lots of Democratic fundraiser parties at his pizza place, Comet Ping Pong Pizza, which is already kind of weird. But then it was even more strange when you find out that this pizza shop owner was rated number 49 most powerful man in Washington, D.C.
Yes, we're talking about a pizza parlor owner.
Much like we're experiencing now, things continued to just get darker and darker, and people stumbled upon James Alefantis' Instagram page, which happens to just be the strangest possible place on earth. First things first, let's look at this profile picture. Some sort of like Roman god statue. We don't really know who this is. People online obviously figured it out. It's a Greek youth known as Antinous, and he was the favorite lover of the Roman Emperor Hadrian or Hadrian. For centuries, he was long associated with pederasty, but back then it was seen as like a good thing because most prominent male figures had a mistress or like a boy lover that they kept on the side. And so for a long time, it was normal. Alefantis is using it as his profile picture, which seems a little strange. Apparently, after Antinous died, his lover, Hadrian, he deified him and organized a cult religion that basically worshipped him. And in order to establish this cult, Hadrian founded the city of Antinopolis. And this is where they would establish this cultic center for the worship of Osiris Antinous. And apparently, Osiris is mentioned in the Podesta emails as someone who John Podesta worships. So I don't know. Mr. Alefantis prefers the company of other men. He does not have a female partner. He does not have any kids. His friends and family members around him don't seem to have any kids, but he does have quite a few pictures that are on his Instagram featuring small children. But then he's also got some other posts, one that is featuring what looks like a quote-unquote hashtag room. And then we've got this other one with this little girl who is taped to a ping pong table. And it says that this is going to be like new operating procedure at the restaurant for children. Like, what is happening here? Oh, and since I know you guys love fun facts, here's a little fun fact about this photo. This is definitely a photo from Jimmy Comet's Instagram page that was made private, but this photo has also been circulating as one of the photos that was released in the Epstein files, which definitely makes you wonder.
One of the pictures that Trey showed in the report, people have been pointing to, well, look at this is evidence. There's a child with their hands taped down. And you say there's a very simple explanation for that.
Yeah, I'm very glad that you've had us on today. It's an incredible thing. We've invited your cameras into the restaurant because people have all of these ideas, and people use social media. This is a picture of my godchild in a completely innocent place, very happily playing with her sister. Her sister taped her hands. Her parents are there. I put this on my Instagram with their approval. Right there, it sits there on the internet for a year and a half, and people start building these lies and falsities about innocent people and then spreading this image over the internet.
And some of the pictures may not be that bad, but when you start looking into the hashtags and the comments and the different people who are posting and tagging on them, it gets real deep. And honestly, we don't really have time to go that deep, but we can definitely go that deep another day. Needless to say, James Alefantis gave people the hardcore creeps. And then to find out that he owns this pizza place in Washington, D.C., very closely tied with tons of different political members in the Democratic Party. And then to find out even further that this place is just super weird. Like, why is it such a hotspot for political activity? It makes no sense why a pizza spot was such a hotspot. And then when you couple that with all of these emails in the Podesta leaks, people have some questions. And when the internet has questions, it definitely gets answers. And it got some pretty interesting ones that explain quite a bit when we find out that James Alefantis actually is a bastard child of Evelyn de Rothschild. So that could make a whole lot of sense as to why he's such an important pizza shop owner. There's also speculation that his name is totally a made-up name, and it's actually supposed to be the French phrase "J'aime les enfants," which means "I love children" in French. I mean, it kind of doesn't make sense, but then when you see that he posts a picture of a guy wearing a shirt that says that, what are you supposed to think? Obviously, the internet is ablaze with theories and speculation, people outraged by what they're hearing and reading, people who are like, there's no way that's true. And with these sensationalized claims focusing mostly on the Democrats, it's only natural that Alex Jones finds this thing and sinks his teeth right into it. On December 1st, he comes out with a video called Pizzagate, the bigger picture. This thing goes wild.
The Washington Times reported today that unidentified White House aides in the Carter, Reagan, and Bush administrations now are being investigated for using the services of a callboy ring. The paper reports that 2 of the male prostitutes were given a late-night tour of the White House last year. The White House press secretary, Marlin Fitzwater, said he knew nothing of this investigation. NBC's Lisa Myers reports her sources in the U.S. Attorney's Office say the investigation is not focusing on prostitution, but on fraud involving the use of credit cards to pay for the callboy service.
An international pedophile ring has been fully operational for decades. Plummeting down the rabbit hole, you will eventually discover the Franklin cover-up, the Jimmy Savile scandal, the Hampstead cover-up, the Elm Guest House scandal, Jeffrey Epstein's Lolita Island, and many others that were eventually buried by a colluding media, and the fact that the general public loses interest because the reality of high-profile predators is an alien world and completely repulsive to the average person. But as recently as a week ago, Norwegian police arrested 20 men and were investigating 31 suspects involved in a pedophile network. Deputy Police Chief Gunnar Floystad told reporters that many of the suspects were highly educated and included lawyers and politicians. Prosecutors said the suspects had met on the dark web. The material discovered on the dark web involved children as young as toddlers and included acts of bestiality. According to the local NO, police stressed that their operation uncovered not just one pedophilia network, but several. We have the clear perception that like-minded individuals met with each other in the so-called dark net, where they could talk with one another and cultivate their interest in children in peace, Rikers said. There are several highly educated individuals with high IT skills. They've used encryption and anonymity to hide their tracks, head police prosecutor Jane Ringsett Heltney said at the Sunday press conference. She also said that all of the perpetrators involved are men, and one of the involved men had a pregnant girlfriend and discussed plans with another man to sexually abuse the child once it was born, police said. Also, last week, USA Today reported Portland, Oregon police arrested Terrence Patrick Bean, who had been charged with 2 felony counts of having sex with a last year. Bean raised more than $500,000 for Obama's 2012 re-election campaign. Bean has been one of the state's biggest Democratic donors and an influential figure in gay rights circles in the state, reports OregonLive.com. He helped found two major national political groups, the Human Rights Campaign and the Gay and Lesbian Victory Fund, and has been a major contributor for several Democratic presidential candidates, including Barack Obama. A search of the Federal Election Commission's campaign finance database turns up thousands in donations every cycle by Bean to the Democratic Party's most powerful leaders, including Hillary Clinton, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, Senator Dick Durbin, and Representative Barney Frank, among others. As the Pizzagate scandal unfolds, regardless of the mainstream media downplaying of it.
Fake news, by the way, is not an abstract problem. The owner of a D.C. pizza restaurant called Comet Ping Pong, where I've taken my kids, began receiving threats after Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit carried viciously phony rumors that the pizza joint was the base for a abuse ring using underground tunnels led by Hillary Clinton and her campaign chief John Podesta.
It is all a lie. Comet Ping Pong owner James Alefantis says the restaurant does not even have a basement.
Just disgusting.
398 children remain missing in the greater Washington, D.C. area. WikiLeaks revealed that Tony Podesta had mentioned he was still in the room. Let's hope the walls are finally closing in on this cancer that has fed on thousands upon thousands of children worldwide for decades. John Bound for Infowars.com.
It starts spreading like wildfire on the internet, and suddenly tons of people are wondering what is going on with Comet Ping Pong Pizza. One such individual is a volunteer firefighter, a deeply religious father of two, living in the Salisbury, North Kakalaki area, North Carolina, and he is deeply upset by the things that he hears in this Alex Jones episode. So much so that he starts making plans, starting on December 1st, with some of his friends, to coordinate some sort of action. They can't just sit by and let this happen. He's got two beautiful young daughters of his own, and he doesn't want them growing up in a world where this kind of stuff is going on. Because of this explosion of all the pizza stuff online, Comet Ping Pong starts getting threats, people coming in looking for answers, people starting to ask weird questions of the staff. It's just starting to become a problem, and so they decide on December 2nd to beef up their security a little bit. They need a little bit of extra help when they've got all kinds of random stuff happening. According to police documents, it sounds like Edgar was in talks with his friends about doing something together, going out, making some moves together. But then out of nowhere, it's never talked about, displayed, shown, mentioned in the police files. They decide that they're going to back out. And then I've got news reports saying that they even went as far as to say that they told Edgar not to do it. Please don't do this. But it's too late. There's nothing they can say or do to convince him otherwise. This Alex Jones episode of Pizzagate, the bigger picture, has gotten him to the point where he is over the top angry, and he feels the need. He has to do something. He has to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. So he makes a 350-mile journey from North Carolina all the way to Washington, D.C.
Girls. I love y'all more than anything in this world. Can't let you grow up in a world that's run by evil. But at least standing up for you. For other children just like you. I've already told you we have a duty to protect people who can't protect themselves, to do for people who can't do for themselves. That's what I'm trying to do. I hope you understand that one day. I love all y'all.
And then at roughly 3 p.m., he takes an AR-15 and a .38 special revolver. He walks into the pizza place. He freaks everybody in the place out because he's obviously wielding a massive long rifle. And then he proceeds to go to the back of the restaurant. He starts looking around, and he's essentially just doing some self-investigating, trying to figure out where the kids are, where's the secret tunnels, where's this basement. After making some awkward eye contact with an employee that returned from being outside, the employee books it and they get out of there. And at this point, Edgar starts walking around looking for anything that just looks suspicious. And that's when he finds this door. It's got multiple padlocks on it. So he grabs a butter knife. He starts trying to pry this door open, pry the locks open. Which doesn't seem like an effective way to do it. It seems like he wised up and he started using the butt of the gun to smash the handle and the lock off. Then he starts to fire some rounds into the door to fully unlock it. And there's really no clear, defined number of shots that were fired. There's multiple reports saying that it was multiple shots fired. Although when you look at the images of the shot that was fired, we see one bullet hole and allegedly only one shot was fired. We really don't know. It's all up in the air. There's so many different reports about how many shots were fired. Not really sure what's going on here with this bullet hole being so low, not even close to where the lock is, but I mean, whatever. And obviously he didn't get the door unlocked, so he decided to just find a nearby thing to jump up and peer over the wall. And that's when he realizes that it's just like a storage closet. And at that point, he lays his weapons down inside of the pizza place. He walks out with his hands up in the air, and he fully gives himself up to police after only about 20 minutes of searching around this pizza place.
What are you doing in the location? Make sure there's nothing there. What do you want? Regarding what?
Pizzagate.
Pizzagate. It started with what turned out to be a bogus news story suggesting that Bill and Hillary Clinton were running a sex ring out of a Washington, D.C. pizza parlor.
Pizzagate is real. Hillary Clinton has personally children.
What weapons do you have back there? 38, AR-15. Got a pocket knife in the right pocket.
How'd you get up here?
Drove that freeze.
Door. Anything else in it?
There's a shotgun in the back.
That's what I'm talking about right here.
Fucking black bullets all day, man.
Guns that they are.
This doesn't stop the AR.
What good is the ballistic shield or that helmet to an AR?
Shield stops and so does the... No. ARs, the shield only stops handguns and shotguns.
All in all, probably a lot of freaked out folks, but nobody was hurt, nobody injured, nobody was passed away. Following December 4th, we've got a brief statement made by James Alefantis, but then after that, pretty much radio silence.
Yeah, my name is James Alefantis. It's spelled James. My last name is Alefantis, Alefantis, and I'm the owner of Comet Ping Pong.
How you doing?
I'm okay. I have a statement to make, and then if you don't mind, I won't be taking any other questions. It's been a long day for us. Comet Ping Pong has been a beloved institution in Washington for the past decade. We are heartened by the support and loyalty of our customers and our community. They are our lifeblood, and we will continue to serve them joyfully for the decade to come and beyond. Tonight, I want to say we are deeply grateful to the local law enforcement officers who responded swiftly to our call. Thanks to their good work, I am confident that we will continue to operate safely and securely, as we have for the past decade. We also honor our employees tonight, who went above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that they and our customers left safely and were taken care of. Given everyone's extraordinary efforts, we're going to give everyone all of our folks a day off tomorrow, and we will look forward to serving pizzas very soon, probably Tuesday. And let me also say, in addition, there will be a time and a place to address how and why this happened in greater detail. For now, I'll simply say that we should all condemn the efforts of some people to spread malicious and utterly false accusations about Comet Ping Pong, a venerated and beloved DC institution. Let me state unequivocally, these stories are completely and entirely false. What happened today demonstrates that promoting false and reckless conspiracy theories do come with consequences, and I hope that those that are involved with fanning these flames will take a moment to contemplate what happened here today and to stop right away. I want to thank everyone here for their concern. As mentioned, we'll open again very soon, and I am confident that Comet Ping Pong will continue to be a safe, a happy, and a hospitable place for this community for decades to come. Everyone can go home. We thank you. We won't have anything else. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much.
I missed the very
Thank you.
beginning of what, hi, Darcy, Channel 4.
Thank you.
I missed the beginning of what you said. I know you were reading from a statement.
We're just giving a statement, so
Okay.
I'd be happy to read it again if you need.
Well, just the top, if there was anything, I'm sure it was all very important.
Go ahead and start again for me. It's all very important, but we're here to say that we're grateful to our law enforcement officers. We've had are honored by our staff who have been incredibly brave and confident through this, and we thank you all for coming.
James,
Thank
just
you.
one more time, could you read that second part? I mean, I think it's so important. You were talking about the...
Sure, there will be a time and a place to address how and why this happened in greater detail, but it's very important. For now, I'll simply say that we should all condemn the efforts of some people to spread these malicious and utterly false accusations about our restaurant Comet Ping Pong. Let me state unequivocally, these stories are completely and entirely false. There is no basis or fact in any of them, and what happened today demonstrates promoting false and reckless conspiracy theories comes with consequences. I hope that those involved in fanning these flames will take a moment to contemplate what happened here today and to stop right away. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Will this impact your
Thank you.
continued
Have a nice
operations?
Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to bring it up. And the story that keeps being pushed is how truly dangerous these seemingly not so dangerous conspiracy theories can really be. Finally, on December 12th, we get a federal affidavit that says that there was no basement, there was no kids, this is all just fake news, this kid was just some crazy right-wing terrorist, and these kind of dangerous theories can incite violence because they can inspire people like this. And there's this whole fake news safety campaign of trying to push the fact that people who believe in any of these crazy, wild conspiracy theories are dangerous. Mainstream media goes on a debunking campaign. You can find more debunking articles over the whole Pizzagate thing than you can find anything else. In fact, it's not even worth searching because as soon as you do, you just get 50 articles debunking the whole thing. I mean, everybody was inundated with the fact that this was not real. Don't believe this. It took real ones to keep digging and keep believing and keep realizing that this is all just a big psychological operation. By March of 2017, Edgar pleads guilty, and he ends up getting sentenced to 4 years in prison, which is actually pretty close to the maximum sentence that he could get for this offense. And with nobody getting harmed and like nothing bad really happening at all, I mean, they lost a hard drive that allegedly had some bad things on it anyways. Why? Edgar does his time, he keeps his head down, and by May of 2020, he is officially released. He's placed on 3 years of supervised parole, so he can't, get into trouble or anything after he's released. And then something really crazy happens just last year in January of 2025. Despite being the passenger in a vehicle involved in a routine traffic stop, the Kannapolis police were placing him under arrest for a warrant that he had for a parole violation. He was allegedly armed and decided to pull his weapon on the officers. They commanded him to put his weapon down. He didn't. And unfortunately, he was passed away in an officer-related shooting.
Tonight, the man who terrorized people at a crowded D.C. pizza shop back in 2016 has died. EDGAR Maddison Welch was shot and killed Monday by police in Kannapolis, North Carolina, after he pulled out a gun during a traffic stop. 8 years ago, the so-called Pizzagate gunman entered Comet Ping Pong in Northwest with a revolver and rifle. He was searching for a non-existent child sex ring, which he learned about from a right-wing conspiracy website. Welch was sentenced to prison and released back in 2021.
Now, this already just felt like they were tying up some loose ends. But what really, really clued me into the fact that this was a massively successful psyop was the fact that Edgar was killed on January 4th of 2025. The very first DOJ Epstein file batch release was released January of 2025.
Let's go.
All right, welcome back to Sobering Stories with me, DJ Petrovsky. If this is your first time here, thank you for joining us. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. And SUP Sobers. In an effort to make YouTube my main squeeze, my main source of income, I'm working really hard to bring more content to you guys, be more available to you guys, be more present for the channel. So I'm working slightly less at my job during the week. But yeah, if you guys do want to support the channel, obviously I'm making a little less there. It really helps me if you donate via PayPal or Cash App or Venmo. I have all those links in my link tree in my description or in my bio. But YouTube is taking half out here, you guys. So just keep that in mind if you are thanksing creators. Besides that, if you don't want to donate, that's totally fine. Just being here, watching my videos helps way more than you know. But what helps even more than that is if you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button so more people will see this video. If you have a Rumble, a Spotify, a Patreon, pretty much anywhere podcasts are available, follow me there. And definitely follow me on Instagram. I've been blowing up over there, post a lot of my shorts videos there. I'm more accessible there if you want to ask me a question. But yeah, follow me. Like I mentioned earlier, it feels like we are knee deep in the exact same situation we were in 2016. We're being told that all these files, they're just fake news. There's no merit to any of them. We shouldn't worry about them. It's all in the past. This is all just nothing to worry about. And for whatever reason, lots of people are believing that. They're just falling for that. They're saying, okay. And I think that's because they don't want to have to worry about it. They don't want to have to accept the fact that this stuff is really happening. And the same is true for what was going on in 2016 with Pizzagate. People didn't want to think that that kind of stuff was even possible, let alone actually happening at their favorite pizza place. But in the grand scheme of things, this incident with Edgar Maddison Welch, where he stormed in, doing his own private investigation of this Pizzagate scandal, storming into Comet Ping Pong Pizza, freaking all these people out. This was the most defining moment of this entire psyop, because this gave them the leverage to say that conspiracies are dangerous. Believing these things can be dangerous. Pushing these theories, telling your friends about it, letting other people know about these things is dangerous, because you never know what some unhinged person, terrorist, is going to do. This allowed them to weaponize conspiracy theories. Digging deeper into Edgar Maddison Welch, trying to figure out who this guy actually is, things start popping out right away. First of all, there's really not much known about his childhood, very much about him at all. Really all we know is that he grew up in a religious household. His dad was a pastor. Like I said, things start popping out real quick. His dad was also a film director / actor / producer / screenwriter. In fact, a good majority of his family has acting careers or is involved in film in some way. Harry Welch Jr. has his very own IMDb account. And on this IMDb account, there's a section called Trivia. It's got a whole list of some extremely weird, that's really all I can say about it, just really weird facts about this guy that make him a very suspicious character. If nothing else, it raises a lot of questions for me. But first of all, he's written 30 screenplays. He is a karate master. He teaches the Eddie Eagle Gun Safety course in numerous different elementary schools in the area. He's been an NRA firearms instructor for over 35 years, rated as a firearm training counselor. So the dude knows how to shoot a gun, which makes you wonder about this bullet that was randomly shot way too low, completely missing the lock. You would think that Edgar would know how to shoot if his dad's a firearms training expert. He was elected president of the North Carolina Crime Stoppers Association for 2 terms. He also served as the executive director for Protect a Child, a national nonprofit organization to prevent abuse and abduction of children. How ironic is that? They were foster parents, so they had tons of kids running around. More than anything, their major passion was rescuing animals. They actually had a dog rescue. They also had rescued tigers, jaguars, leopards, and servals. I don't even really know what a serval is, but they've rescued some of them. And they operated the largest no-kill shelter for dogs in their county, which is pretty wild. They housed up to 55 dogs and found homes for 300 plus dogs, which is awesome. I love dogs. But this is where things get extra interesting. Harry was selected by Ronald Reagan in 1988 to join 15 other broadcasters to visit U.S. military installations in Colorado. They received national clearance from the U.S. Defense Department to visit Cheyenne Mountain Nuclear Bunker, aka NORAD. That's literally where I live. It's in the mountain. It's crazy. It says Harry worked on federal, state, and local task forces fighting the war on drugs. He served 5 years with the Rowan County ABC Police, which sounds made up. Duties included stakeouts, watching illegal stills, patrolling the county for suspected bootleggers, transporting non-tax-paid whiskey, working undercover to purchase illegal liquor, and participating in raids on stills and gambling houses. I do want to repeat one thing from there. Working undercover to produce illegal liquor and participating in raids on stills and gambling houses. Their agency also worked with the U.S. Treasury Department's local Office of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, which increased their coverage area to 8 counties. Harry is a special deputy with the Iredell County Sheriff's Department. And he's held 7 Guinness Book World Records for one arm, one finger, and fingertip push-ups. This dude is a freaking legend. And this is Edgar's dad. But guess who else has an IMDb account? Yeah, Edgar himself. Kind of wild, huh? Because he's also a production assistant, he's an actor, he's worked on pretty much all of his dad's movie productions. So is this dude a crisis actor? Also, just real quick, I wanted to make sure I mentioned how much I love that his IMDb photo is his arrest photo. And if you don't know what a crisis actor is or don't believe that they exist, well, I found this really interesting post on Reddit. It was from Jacksonville, Florida. There was a job posting, and it was made sometime late November, and it was for a crisis actor. They were trying to fill 35 positions, pays $240 to $340 something a day. Sounds like a pretty good gig. You get food and water, and it very specifically describes the things that you'll be expected to do. And it says that you must never break character.
Maybe they're right, Brian. I mean, this is a special circumstance that...
And you gotta sign an NDA, of course. You might then find it extremely interesting to know that on December 1st, there was a hostage situation in Jacksonville, Florida.
And the teller was trying to get some bill, I was trying to get some bill paid information. And before I can get that straightened out, this man that done walked out and come back in with the dog, and he shot up in the roof and I took off.
Roger Green says it happened within minutes after he, along with several other customers, entered this Community First Credit Union just after 9 a.m. Police say this man, 23-year-old Nicholas Humphrey, walked out and then back in, but with a gun and demands. Did you hear him say anything?
I didn't hear him say nothing, but I heard that bullet pop. And when that bullet popped, I...
You darted. You ran like you've never been run before.
I ain't joking.
Oh my gosh, what was going through your head, Mr. Green, just knowing that?
Ooh, Lord, hard to say. I was praying ever since when I got in there until I got out of there, that he didn't come to that door.
When I went to go, my leg was asleep. I took out about 3 rows of chair. Boom, 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 boom. But that was good because that started him and he ran out to give everybody else a chance to run out the door.
Police say that move allowed the SWAT team to enter the credit union, and Humphrey surrendered.
It also said in this posting that they were looking to fill these positions very quickly, so they needed people that were actually skilled to be able to do this because they didn't want to have to train people because they were on a time crunch. So they were looking for crisis actors. Edgar and his dad are actors. I don't know. Edgar's record was far from clean. In fact, in 2007, he had a possession of the devil's lettuce and an underage drinking ticket. And then in 2013, he got a DWI where it wasn't fully a DUI, but he did lose his license and it was on his record, obviously. But his parents make sure to note in an interview that he was feeling so, I don't know, just out of place and lost in the world, and he wanted to give back somehow. So he went down to Haiti in 2010 after all of the earthquakes happened. That is just one of those pieces of the story that it might mean something, it might mean nothing, but like, why does Haiti keep popping up in all of the weirdest stories? And they all seem to have to do with pizza. But in 2016, something major happened to Edgar. He may have been under the influence, although that was never recorded in the report and it wasn't a hit and run. So we're really not sure what exactly happened, but while driving, doing the speed limit, everything seemed completely normal. He ends up hitting a 13-year-old kid, sending him flying through the air, and then he ends up having to get evac'd out by a helicopter, transported to the local hospital. He did survive, but kind of a crazy situation. And this happened on October 24th of 2016, just a couple months before this whole Comet ping pong thing.
This 13-year-old boy is in the hospital with serious injuries as police investigate the crash that put him there. He was with a group of friends walking down Harrison Road in Salisbury last night when he was hit by a car. New tonight, Eyewitness News reporter Tina Terry spoke with one of the other teens who was almost hit.
Yes, Erica, obviously that young man is very upset tonight. He says he was walking here on Harrison Road when that driver ran into his friend.
It was a really crazy night, hard to explain. I wish I could forget.
But Sean Langford can't forget the crash that seriously injured his 13-year-old friend, sending him to the hospital by medical chopper. He says he and a group of friends had been skateboarding that night. At the time of the crash, he says the group was walking toward his house on the shoulder of Harrison Road.
He had the whole street to himself, but he still managed to almost hit 3 of us, but only 1 of us got hit.
His 13-year-old friend was seriously hurt with injuries to his leg, chest, and possible head injuries.
I just ran over to him, and we kept him moaning, and so he wouldn't go into shock.
Langford says the driver was going too fast, but police haven't confirmed that. They've only said they're investigating.
Now, this is strike number 3. He's had his devil's lettuce thing, the DWI, and you don't really get another first chance after that. After that, they kind of throw the book at you. So with him hitting this kid, reckless driving, maybe attempted murder charges, who knows what was going to be thrown at him because of this incident. So it kind of makes people wonder if he made some sort of deal with prosecutors. I don't know. Very strange. Timing is weird. Doesn't mean anything, but it's weird. Now, I found something that I thought was, in particular, very reminiscent of the Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson situation. I used Truthfinder, like I always do, and I'm waiting for them to get back to me on a sponsorship because, well, I always use you guys. But anyways, I was truth-finding Edgar to try and learn more about him, see what showed up on his criminal record, and every single charge that I've found documented outside of Truthfinder was included in his report. All the ones that I just mentioned, and some that happened that we will talk about later. The only one that I was not able to locate on his criminal rap sheet was the 4 years that he served for transporting weapons across state lines and then ultimately firing a shot into Comet Ping Pong Pizza. He was convicted. He spent 4 years in prison. He was released. And yet this is nowhere on his criminal record. If I was using Truthfinder to try and figure out if there was dangerous violent criminals in the area, and I find out that this guy only has drinking-related non-violent crimes on his record, then I'm going to be like, oh, okay, that's cool. But then if I come to find out that he has a violent crime on his record that was not shown there, I'd be a little disgruntled, be a little upset. So it's a little sketchy. Now, I'm by no means blaming Truthfinder, but I do find it to be pretty interesting that this offense, everything about this whole situation is absent from his Truthfinder account. Now, there is something else that's a little weird about our good buddy Edgar here, and it's something that you may not notice right away. But the logo on his hat, I was just curious like what kind of hat it was. And when you look closer, it says BH. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this theory before. This is something that we kind of talked about in my Isaac Cappy video with the whole SRC USA thing. Same thing goes with BHKIDS, when you search it on Yandex. In fact, when you search this on Yandex, it almost immediately brings up like a legitimate like kids YouTube video channel from like Vietnam or Korea or something. And then the rest of it looks like these weird pictures of kids in like bathing suits. They look like they're modeling for something. It's just really weird. And the more that you dig, you start clicking around, you start finding some really weird threads of mostly underage girls dressed in these really not an appropriate outfit for a young girl, a teen girl, any sort of young girl under 18, really. So the BHKIDS searches turned really, really weird really, really quick. And I couldn't get it to work for me, but apparently back in the day when people were first figuring this out, when you searched BHKIDS, it would bring up this Liska website, which I'm not familiar with them, but apparently they're a pretty big female swimsuit, like, I don't know, company. It would bring up pictures of these young girls in swimsuits, like really young, like 8, 9 years old. And there would even be certain threads or certain sections of this website that you could access with this little BH whatever in the URL. And it's only accessed through searching BHKIDS on Yandex. Somehow it gets you into this other portal, like this backdoor access to the website. And you're able to see pictures of these girls without tops on. Now, I wasn't able to find them, not like I was really looking for them, to be honest, but I was just seeing if the same thing still happened, if it was still going on today, because the video I watched about it was from 2020, which I will link in the description. Amazing series. It's called Pizzagate 2020, and there's 3 parts to it, so definitely check it out. Pretty much anything that Mouthy Buddha does is amazing, so yeah, quick shout out. I also clicked on this one link, and it actually took me to a rap song, and I mean, it's not that great, so I'm not going to play it. I don't want to get copyrighted or something, but underneath this rap song is just tons of weird pictures of kids. Makes no sense at all. And I found tons of like Pinterest threads of girls wearing like crocheted outfits and just young teen girls posing for these, looks like modeling photos. It's overwhelming, and it's like super easy to find, and it's all in one place. So it kind of makes you feel like that was orchestrated intentionally. But by far the craziest thing that I found in the whole BHKIDS search was this Ola Pizza. And it is obviously not a real pizza joint. And it has all these young girls huddled around this pizza looking real suspicious. Just absolutely weird as hell. Oh, and they've got this heart-shaped pizza, which definitely resembles the, you know, heart inside of a heart symbol for like someone who likes little girls. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it means something, maybe it means nothing, but he did help out down in Haiti in 2010. He is an actor, possibly a crisis actor, and there's just so many weird connections with his dad and just with this whole entire story that it honestly wouldn't surprise me if this BH had something to do with BHKIDS. Because when I searched for that hat, I could not find it. Now, this is something I don't see talked about very often. Maybe a couple times in my research I saw it. The same 13-year-old kid that Edgar ended up hitting with his car in 2016, he survived that whole ordeal. 3 years later, when he's 16 years old, he actually gets charged and convicted of first-degree murder of this elderly guy that they were trying to steal stuff from. And I just, yet again, might mean something, might mean nothing. It could be a part of silencing people that were involved that might know too much. It could just be random. This could have just been coincidence. But the thing with this whole Pizzagate story is that there is so many coincidences that you have to look past and say, oh, well, it's just a coincidence, before you finally get to the official narrative and say, yeah, that's believable. In my opinion, there are just way too many coincidences to just be coincidence. In fact, when it comes to coincidences, the most glaring irregularities come from the day of the incident. Like I mentioned before, a couple days prior, they were beefing up security because they were already getting threats. And then, strangely enough, the street security camera that's located just outside of Comet Ping Pong Pizza at Connecticut and Nebraska Avenues was mysteriously moved and facing the complete opposite direction so that nothing was caught on camera that day. When people went back and looked days later, it was back in its normal position. Then, as Edgar's actually walking into the pizza place, it is said that he had this AR-15 visible for everybody, and that is what immediately sent shockwaves throughout all of the staff and all of the customers that were in the shop at the time. However, the only eyewitness that we have on record testifying or giving their testimony about what happened says that he carried in a shotgun when he very pacifically had an AR-15, and you don't have to be a gun expert to know the difference between the two. The interesting thing for me is that he did in fact have a shotgun. It was just in his car and it was not being used. So it's almost like he knew that he had the shotgun and maybe he misspoke on which gun he actually had. I don't know. Also, this witness, his whole entire testimony about what happened is extremely sus. And he makes sure to throw in there how awful all these right-winged extremists are, and specifically calls out Alex Jones. So that for me made it feel extra sloppy psyoppy.
Yeah, so we were on an afternoon day trip to the Chevy Chase area. Our plan was to go to the Ping Pong Pizza and then to Politics and Prose, to the bookstore, get some coffee and just kind of have a nice day out. And we were at the Comet Ping Pong. We finished having lunch, and so there's 3 sections in that restaurant. There's a front sort of dining section, and then there's a middle section that has ping pong tables and foosball tables, and then there's a back section which is like a bar and private party area. We were in the middle section where the ping pong tables are, and I was playing ping pong. We finished our meal. I was playing ping pong with my wife, and my kids were playing at the table next to us. And basically a person walked in, kind of tall, slender, white guy, who walked straight into the back room where that private party section area. It was closed off at the time and darkened out, and so he went straight in there. He didn't engage us or engage any of the other customers in our presence. So after he walked into the back, I thought he was a security guard initially, but moments later, I could kind of see that my wife saw something was wrong. And moments briefly after that, one of the staff basically told me that there's a gunman, we need to get out of here. So my immediate reaction was to get my kids and get out. And that's what we did. We moved swiftly out of the place, swiftly out of the place, swiftly out of the place. Everyone was moving quickly out, and there was basically, it wasn't a lot of chaos. It was a very smooth transition out of the restaurant onto the sidewalk, then over to the middle of the block. I did mention that I felt that Alex Jones and others were responsible because they're spreading fake news story about Comet Ping Pong. I mean, whatever other agendas they have regarding Hillary Clinton or John Podesta, that's their business. I mean, those are politicians or people in political power. But I think when you're attacking a pizza restaurant where there's $15 an hour employees and staff members and patrons and children, then that's crossing the line and becomes very dangerous. So like I said in my message, I hold Alex Jones responsible for putting my children in danger.
It's also really weird that while this whole event was going on, he is busy tweeting, updating everybody about exactly what he thinks is going on. Also making sure that everybody knows that he was at Comet Ping Pong when this happened, which seems really weird. He also speculates that he's trying to stash the shotgun in the back so he can come back later. Like, how does this guy know anything about what's going on? Seems like a plant to me. The other thing this witness mentions is the same thing that every other news broadcast and person reporting on this whole situation also mentions, which is that this conspiracy theory is baseless, it's been completely debunked, and it's amazingly dangerous to spread and believe in these conspiracy theories. The biggest piece of evidence that nearly every single source cites as the reason why this has been debunked is because there was no basement.
And this picture that conspiracy theorists decided must be the secret basement where children are locked up. But in fact, it's from a restaurant Alefantis considered leasing, and Comet Ping Pong doesn't even have a basement.
Edgar himself went in, found nothing, found no basement, no kids, no evidence. put his guns down and walked out and just gave up because he found no reason to believe that there was something going on. Oh, and it's totally normal protocol to allow an active suspect to be out of their handcuffs while you're questioning them, right? Totally by the book. That's protocol, right? No, it's not. And their excuse for why they had him out of handcuffs was so they could do what is called a show-up identification with a witness. And my question is, why did you need a witness to identify him when he came out of the building, surrendered himself, and then answered all of your questions, admitting to what he just did? Why do you need a witness? Now, despite not finding any evidence of a trafficking ring, he still did not recant the fact that he believes that this is a legitimate conspiracy. So he's not saying it didn't happen or it's not true, but allegedly he didn't see anything to indicate that it is true. But over and over and over, you see it, all these news stations making anybody who possibly thinks that this whole Pizzagate thing is real look like they're crazy, because they keep saying things like, it's a baseless conspiracy about a trafficking ring run out of the basement of this pizza place, which doesn't even have a basement. And that is their one solid go-to piece of evidence as to why this can't be a true theory. Then why does James Alefantis say that they collect 10 to 12 tons of tomatoes every year, they can them and store them in the basement? And why does this super weird drag artist named Amanda Kleinman, who many people speculate is actually just James Alefantis, his alter ego? I mean, they always wear a mask. They definitely have some similar facial structures and facial features. And the person always uses a voice vocoder, so you don't know what their voice sounds like. They also mention that they're playing in the basement underneath a sandwich shop.
Anyway, here we are together, and you all are very grateful that you are below a Subway sandwich shop.
Yes!
And Jerry is known to hang out down here. He likes world sounds. Tamales.
And little boys.
And children. I think that was his manager.
No.
We all have preferences. Anyway.
And then they go further to say that everybody has their preferences, referencing certain people's tastes in children. And you're probably wondering, you said sandwich shop. I thought we were talking about a pizza shop. Yes, I did say sandwich shop. And that's because the sandwich shop that is right next door to Comet Ping Pong Pizza, called Buck's Fishing and Camping, is also owned by James Alefantis. And they share a basement. And I found this to be a really interesting fact, because when you're going to lie about something, it is so much easier to tell a half-truth than to tell a complete lie. So if Alefantis is saying that there is no basement in Comet Ping Pong Pizza, he might still be telling the truth in his eyes because it doesn't have its own dedicated basement. If you really consider the fact that this basement extends between two businesses, it's starting to sound a whole lot more like the tunnel systems and the secret basement systems that this whole theory alleges exist down there. And they're going to make it seem like there's just no possibility that there's any basement, even remotely nearby. Not a single building on this whole block has a basement. I mean, they didn't say that, but that's how they're acting, is like, it's so outlandish to think that there's a basement here when literally there is a basement. Even if it's shared between the two businesses, that counts, right? Oh, and there's also this property shark listing that shows the Comet Ping Pong property address. And it says stories, 2 stories, which typically means that there's a basement. And guess what else shows up as having 2 stories to it? Yep, Buck's Fishing and Camping, the bistro. And this next part doesn't necessarily prove anything, but I was using Ian Carroll's amazing tool Web to search through the Epstein files for any mentions of Alefantis or Comet Ping Pong. And I found this one where a Reddit poster actually comes in to testify because they have information about Ghislaine and James Alefantis posting and selling children videos on their Instagrams and on their online profiles. But in this message, they mentioned that James Alefantis had posted a picture of a freezer room that was in his basement that he hashtagged King Room. And this is a part of the photos that were obviously made private when he made his Instagram private after all this Pizzagate stuff blew up. And yet, the only thing we've got to disprove that any of this is true is the fact that there's no basement. Also, real quick, just look at some of the bands that played at Comet Ping Pong Pizza. I would say 90% of them, maybe 95% of them, have some sort of innuendo sounding name, and they're always hosted as an all ages show because Comet Ping Pong is a family friendly pizza establishment. So why are all these really weird, super creepy artists playing at Comet Ping Pong, including artists called the Sex Stains? And I found this video on YouTube, and they've got the PDF file symbols and all that stuff littered throughout this video. They played at Comet Ping Pong. Really raises some questions and some eyebrows, doesn't it? One of the other big inconsistencies throughout all of the reporting is how many shots were actually fired. And then when we see the photos of what actually happened, we see one single bullet hole. So we assume only one shot was fired. And then we find out that the only thing that was damaged or anything happened to it, the servers and the computer system within that super padlocked closet. If it's just a coat closet with a computer system that just has your security cameras to monitor your restaurant, then why do you need 3 padlocks on the door? And why does it have to be such a super secretive little area?
On December 4th, Edgar Welch showed up at Comet Ping Pong armed with an AR-15, a revolver, and a knife, determined to find underground rooms and vaults, firing his gun at a door behind which Alefantis says he wouldn't have found anything exciting.
In here is our bags and coat closet. The bullet went into our computer system.
After police arrived, Welch surrendered peacefully, saying that he was trying to rescue the children he was sure were hidden inside.
And why did it get immediately replaced right after this entire incident occurred? He's showing the after effects and showing like what happened and where it happened. And he's opening up this door and everything's fixed. Looks brand new. Now, at first glance, you're like, okay, sure. He just fired off one shot. It randomly went into the computer. Lucky shot. Coincidental, I guess, right? But then when we find out that there's this guy named Big Fish, he's a hacker. Not really sure who this guy is or what he does, but he goes on to this interview on this podcast with this guy named Titus Frost, and he's telling his story about how when the Podesta emails dropped, they started looking through them, they started trying to hack into different things, and they came to the Comet Ping Pong website, and with all of the hype surrounding it, they tried to hack into the website. They successfully did, and while they were in, they found these secret, I don't know if they're servers or just areas, parts of the website that were entirely dedicated to CP, and there was price tags associated with all this stuff. So it seemed like they were actually selling all of this CP. Big Fish says that he took all of this information directly to the Washington, D.C. Police Department and let them know, like, you guys need to look into this. This is what I found. Here's all the documents. Here's how I got in. If you guys need help getting in to see all the things that I saw, let me know. I can help you. He even sends them this email. And then he asks for an email confirmation saying, like, let me know that you got all this stuff so I know for sure you got it. And he says that he did, in fact, get all the information and sends him that confirmation email back. He says after this, he didn't hear a single thing. Now, fast forward, this whole incident at Comet Ping Pong happens. Suddenly, on the 5th of December, they are very interested in what he has to say and the information that he has.
It all started last November when the Podesta emails came out. Me and some of my crew, some of the people that I work with, were researching the Podesta emails when they came out, and we found the section on Comet Pizza that had the download section with the zip files, and we ended up getting into those files and found that they contained child pornography. So in late November, we took it to the authorities, the DC Metropolitan Police Department. I told them the whole story, and I was pretty upset by the reaction that I got from the DC MPD. They seemed like they really didn't want to hear about it. And like I say, they kind of just gave me the runaround. And so I contacted the FBI. They took notes and whatnot, but didn't really say anything about it. Again, this was in late November. On December 4th was the day that EDGAR Maddison Welch went down to Comet Pizza, supposedly with an assault rifle. And so when that news broke on the 4th, I knew right away that it was a false flag to cover up for the evidence that I had given to the DC Police Department. Yeah. So the following day was the 5th. Right when I woke up in the morning, I called the DC MPD again. This time I got a whole different reaction from the DC MPD. They put me directly through to a detective named Marcus Stevens. He listened, asked me if I would send the information over to him through email. And so that's what I did on December 5th. I sent him the information through email. I sent him another email after that, asking if he could confirm the receipt of the evidence that I had supplied him. The next day I got an email back from him saying that he had received the email. So for the next 2 weeks, I was in contact with him, and I was sending him emails, different stuff, because this wasn't just that website. It was connected to 9 different servers all across the globe. This is a huge network. This was a huge network. I sent him an email with about the 9 different servers and about where they're located and what exactly they're doing. I just asked again, like, for a confirmation that he received it, and he emailed me back, but he didn't write anything in the email chain. I almost took that like he got the information, but he was going dark, or he couldn't take the information anymore, or somebody had shut down his investigation. Because after that, I never heard from him again.
The theory from here is that he had given this information to police in Washington, D.C. If Alefantis is as connected as he seems to be, he likely has connections within the police department, who likely tipped him off that something was going down. And then they orchestrated this entire Psyop incident with EDGAR so that it would look like just some random crazed conspiracy nut terrorist came in and shut the place up, just happened to destroy this server. No malicious intent. There was no destroying of evidence. They're not liable for anything because this was a freak accident. Suspicious, to say the least. Obviously, this big fish guy is telling his story. Take it at face value. I mean, whether he's telling the truth or not, we'll never know. But it is kind of interesting how it all lines up and all pieces together. Now, if in fact there was a trafficking ring operating out of this pizza place, or even just using this pizza place as one of the places within the network, then we'd have to assume that all of these powerful individuals, politicians, the Podesta brothers, they have amazing stake in keeping this stuff quiet and keeping people from investigating further. So something like this happening is best case scenario for them. But then I was looking through the Epstein files and I didn't notice this. I cannot take credit for this. This was all web. There's a photo and there's 2 girls with their butt cheeks completely redacted, obvious reasons. But if you look real close, right between those 2 girls' legs, you will see a photo of what looks to be John Podesta. And this is in the Epstein files. So I haven't found very many links between Epstein's network and this whole Comet ping pong network, at least not in any emails or any files. But the presence of all of the pizza terminology, all of the food references, first of all, that substantiates the claims that those food references that the FBI has established are codes. They are in fact codes. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that these networks were linked together, but when you find a picture like this linking John Podesta with Jeffrey Epstein, It definitely makes you think that these two networks are in fact connected. If nothing else, it raises a lot of questions for me. But while everybody else was out here debunking this whole pizza thing and talking about how if you believe this, then you are just a part of the problem, creating a dangerous, dangerous world for people to live in, there was one man who was willing to stand up to everybody, did a deep dive investigation of his own, and that man's name is Ben Swann. He was the only guy out here looking into the truth, trying to figure out, like, is there any substance to these claims? Did this guy drive all the way out here to this pizza place to do this for no reason? Or is there something here? And he found some pretty interesting stuff, and nobody took him seriously. In fact, interesting story, he was fired from the news network just after this broadcast.
I spent the last month investigating. So what exactly is Pizzagate? And are there any actual facts to support the story? I've got to warn you, what we're going to talk about tonight will be disturbing to some people, but this is a reality check you won't see anywhere else. Pizzagate actually comes from the WikiLeaks release of hacked emails from Clinton campaign chairman John Podesta. In all, WikiLeaks dumped around 50,000 email messages, and it was from those emails that the claims that John Podesta may be part of a child sex trafficking ring come from. Now, to be clear, not one single email in the Podesta emails discusses child sex trafficking or pedophilia. That is a fact. But there are dozens of what seem to be strangely worded emails dealing with pizza and handkerchiefs. Self-described online investigators say that those words in the emails about pizza and the talk of handkerchiefs is code language used by pedophiles. So how did a DC pizza parlor get pulled into the story? Well, again, read any mainstream report and they indicate that Comet Ping Pong Pizza was somehow linked to this fake story and has no relation to anyone involved. But the truth is that's not true either. What media is ignoring is that the Comet Ping Pong Pizza place is actually referenced in the Podesta emails at least a dozen or so times, and that the owner of that place, James Alefantis, is a friend of John Podesta. He was actually named, this is kind of strange, by GQ magazine as one of the top 50 most powerful people in Washington. Yes, we're talking about a pizza parlor owner. Now let's talk facts here. There is no solid evidence that Comet Ping Pong Pizza is being used to run a child sex trafficking ring. But there are some very strange connections between Comet Ping Pong Pizza and a second pizza place 2 doors over, Besta Pizza, and the accusations of pedophilia. Now this is where things start to get strange when you research this story. Now to begin, I need to show you a 2007 unclassified FBI document. That document, according to the FBI, contains commonly used symbols by pedophiles to express their preference in children. I want you to see these images here. These are the images. Notice this one on the end, the triangle. That image signifies something called boy love. The pizza place next door to Comet Ping Pong Pizza, Besta Pizza, well, this was their logo until only a few weeks ago. Clearly, you can see that the Besta logo actually contains the same image, I'm going to show you again, as that boy lover image. Interestingly, after Pizzagate investigators pointed this out, Besta Pizza changed their logo, and there it is now. They removed the triangle. Also, Comet Ping Pong, owned by Alefantis, is the place where a number of performance artists perform regularly. 2 of the groups that perform there, who you can see advertised, by the way, on this Comet Ping Pong poster, include a group called Heavy Breathing and another group called EPSTEIN. Well, if you check out the YouTube videos by these bands, Heavy Breathing has songs that do joke about pedophilia, and the band EPSTEIN has a video that includes, and you see it right there, that same boy lover symbol. It's nearly identical to the one that the FBI does say is a pedophile code symbol for boy love. As I said, there are some strange things there. As for the owner of the pizza place, James Alefantis, well, he was one time in a relationship with David Brock, who ran Media Matters for America. Well, since Pizzagate began to blow up online, he has made his Instagram profile, Jimmy Comet, private. But an archive search of Instagram reveals a number of strange photographs and words with strange and disturbing images associated with them. Look, to the point where we can't show you those pictures. We're not even going to describe them to you because some viewers would find it too disturbing to share on TV. Now let's talk about the Podesta brothers, because remember, it was John Podesta's email that was hacked. In those leaked Podesta emails, John Podesta talks about his close relationship with Dennis Hastert, the former Speaker of the House, who was recently sentenced to 15 months in prison for abusing boys years ago. He was referred to by the judge as a serial child molester. According to the Washington Post, visitors to Tony Podesta's home in Falls Church got an eyeful when they walked into a bedroom at the Podesta residence hung with multiple color pictures by Katie Grannon, a photographer known for documentary-style pictures of naked teenagers in their parents' suburban homes. And to be clear, that just begins to scratch the surface of how strange some of this stuff is. And bear in mind, we can't get into a lot of the real details of it because of the limits on broadcasting this on television. But it is some very strange stuff. Now keep in mind, again, there is no proof here that there is a child sex ring being operated out of a DC pizza parlor. Investigators have already proven there's nothing to the story, right? Well, actually, no. And that's what you need to know. For all that is here, there has not been one single public investigation of any of this. Not from local police, not from the FBI, no one. And that has to be the big question. Not for Podesta or for pizza parlor owners, but for law enforcement. Based on what may be or may not be here, the big question is, why hasn't any investigation taken place? That's Reality Check. Let's talk about it.
You're a goddamn American hero, Ben. As I mentioned before, this whole incident was amazingly important in turning around the narrative about this whole pizza thing. It really shut down any conversation about the Podesta emails and the Clinton emails for that matter. So people were really just too scared to talk about it. And even if you did, you got censored because social media and everything was super censored at that point. Nobody could talk about it. So this was obviously a huge win for the elites or the people running this network. And then Edgar gets sentenced to the maximum sentence for that crime, despite nobody getting injured and nothing bad really happening at all. He gets sentenced to 4 years. The maximum sentence is 4 years. And just another real weird coincidence, might mean something, but probably just a coincidence, is that the judge who issued the maximum sentence for Edgar in this situation that didn't seem that serious, she ends up getting boosted all the way up to SCOTUS, the Supreme Court. She is the first black justice to be appointed to the Supreme Court, which I thought was pretty wild. And she also has a history of being extremely lenient on non-production child exploitation cases. The reason that she got moved up to the Supreme Court, people speculate, is because of her leniency towards these different political elites in relation to these child exploitation cases. And she put Edgar away for as long as she possibly could, trying to keep him quiet. But by far, the all-time, hands down, weirdest coincidence goes to the arson situation in 2019.
Prosecutors say the man seen fighting with U.S. Park police officers in this video is the same man seen in this surveillance video from inside Comet Pizza. 22-year-old Ryan Remus has been charged with arson in connection to the January 23rd incident inside the popular restaurant on Connecticut Avenue in Upper Northwest. In court today, Remus told the judge he didn't have enough money for his own attorney. The judge appointed a public defender who asked that Remus be released to the custody of his parents, who had traveled from South Carolina to be in the courtroom today. The judge denied that request. Federal investigators have said the suspect went into the restaurant about 9:30 in the evening and set the curtains on fire. Nobody was hurt. About 2 weeks later, according to court documents, on February 4th and 5th, Remus climbed the fence around the Washington Monument and was arrested. During the first incident, Remus fought with 2 Park police officers who had to use a baton, then pepper spray, and finally a taser to subdue him. According to prosecutors, once Remus was in custody at the Washington Monument, he was recognized as the Comet Pizza suspect because of his distinctive jacket with the white sleeves.
Now, this young man, very interesting, also has an IMDb account. His name is Ryan Jazelski's, and his story is almost identical to that of Edgar's, except he decided to try and light the place on fire. So weird. It's not that easy to get an IMDb account, I would imagine. Like, you have to actually be in some films or like do some sort of film work or maybe be a crisis actor. I don't know. Taking all of this into consideration, things just really don't feel right. Something feels off. There's too many coincidences, and it just feels off. Yet again, can't prove it, can't disprove it, but you can't talk about it. But that's what made the events of January 4th, 2025 extra suspicious to me. I don't remember if I mentioned this before or not, but after being released from his 4 years in prison, Edgar was placed on 3 years of parole, which is basically just like probation, can't get in trouble. He got through that 3 years just fine, but then in 2024, he was actually hit with a possession of glass charge, and this kind of reset the clock for him. And he had some court dates and things that apparently he missed, which is what led to a warrant being issued for his arrest. This warrant was issued, I think, like late December of 2024. According to the official Kannapolis police press conference, they say that on January 4th at about 10 p.m., an officer recognized a gray 2001 GMC Yukon as being the vehicle that is normally driven by an individual that he had previously arrested. I think they're referencing Edgar here. What is kind of interesting about that is that when they pulled this vehicle over, Edgar is in the passenger seat. And if this is his car, that makes no sense. And they also don't say that there was any reason to pull this vehicle over, other than the fact that the officer recognized that this was a vehicle of someone that he had previously arrested, and he knew that this person had a warrant out for their arrest for missing a court date. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that does not sound like probable cause to me. How many 2001 gray GMC Yukons are driving around? And how many people who have warrants that you could possibly get confused with another person who has a warrant? Like, your memory is not cause for you to arrest or pull somebody over. Not at all. My favorite part about this official press release is that they left out so many details. They talk about pulling over this car. They don't really say why. They just say they know that this one person has a warrant in this car. And then they pull this car over. Police go up. Apparently, the one cop is talking to the driver. The other officer approaches the passenger side of the vehicle because they realize that the person with the arrest warrant is in the passenger side. As this cop approaches the passenger door, he opens it and tells Edgar to get out because they're putting him under arrest for a warrant for a felony probation violation. They say that he immediately pulls out a handgun that is on his person, and the two officers immediately draw their weapons. They order him to put his weapon down. He doesn't comply, and bang, bang. These officers' names were Brooks Jones and Caleb Tate. They were placed on, administrative leave while they did the investigation. Obviously, there was no body cam footage of what happened. There was no street camera footage of what happened. We have no evidence that this is exactly what happened. It's just these officers who are still alive's word against Edgar's word, who's not even alive anymore. As far as I can tell, nothing bad happened to these officers. Just a pretty standard investigation to make sure everything was above board. And that's that. Edgar's gone. Loose end perfectly tied up. And just in time for the Epstein files to release. The fact that they left out so many things that would give them any reason to pull this vehicle over, as well as any reason or a conversation that happened leading them to believe that this guy did have a warrant, as well as any other conversation about whether he had weapons, whether there was anything in the car, whether they could search the car, anything. No details are provided. They just saw this guy, knew he had a warrant, pulled him over, tried to arrest him. He got aggressive and pulled a gun, and so they had to end him. Doesn't that just feel off? So I don't know, you guys. After seeing all of that, I was firmly under the belief that this was 100% a psychological operation so that they could change people's minds. They could keep people from looking into this conspiracy theory, and they had a way to get rid of evidence that didn't seem suspicious. And as we keep finding more and more pizza-related emails in the Epstein files, we keep finding more and more conspirators, co-conspirators, people who are obviously guilty of something and need to be investigated further. We have to learn from what happened in the past. We can't let them tell us to just move on. We can't let them tell us that there's nothing to see here. Everything's been debunked. That's all a lie. Nothing in that's true. It's all fake. Don't trust your eyes. Don't trust your ears. Trust me. This is the moment, you guys. We have to realize they're pulling the exact same wool over our eyes that they did before, and we can't let them do it. And if you notice, any time that they pull off one of these weird operations, kind of like the Orlando nightclub shooting, where this G4S or GS4 company, which staffs crisis actors, was proven to be involved with the nightclub shooter. When you look at all of these different shootings, these crisis shootings, you'll realize that there's always an AR-15 involved. It's always a long gun. It's never just some guy with a pistol. There's never just a .22 involved. It's always a massive AR-15 semi to full automatic weapon. And that to me is interesting. because they're consistently trying to push and push and push for us to relinquish our guns because so many bad things have happened that the only option is to get rid of guns. It is a massive psyop on a massive scale. Maybe after looking into this story and seeing some of the things that popped up in this story, you'll be more attuned to see them in future stories. That's my hope anyways. When you guys see those fact checker websites and those debunking claims, read them thoroughly and then investigate further, because they're basically telling you what they don't want you looking at. It's as simple as that. But that's all I got for you guys this week. I appreciate you chilling, hanging out with me, listening to me talk for this long. Thanks for listening to Edgar Madison Welch's story. And I really look forward to doing this again with you guys next week for another one. Also, don't forget, Kim and I go live every Monday night. We've been discussing, I personally think, some really interesting topics. A lot of it's been related to the Epstein files lately. But yeah, it's just a cool way to interact with us, have us, I don't know, it's just, we can actually hang out instead of just be me talking to you for an hour. We can actually hang out and do stuff together. So come hang out with us on Monday night, usually around 8 o'clock. Yeah, otherwise we'll be back for another one next Friday. If you liked this episode, make sure you hit the like button on the way out. If you aren't subscribed and you want to see more of what I got, please hit the subscribe button. And if you do that, you might as well hit the notification bell so that you'll get notified every time I upload a video, which is every Friday. Otherwise, I want you guys to sleep safe, stay awake, stay sober, and hashtag Pizzagate. Later, sobers.
Let's go.